Hey everyone, what's up? I hope you're doing okay. In one of my previous videos, I was chatting about learning how to hill start using a handbrake, which is the standard method taught by driving instructors and everyone else, and it just gets you going, gets you learning how to move off on a hill as steep as you like with no problems. And as much as that sounds like a heinous crime using a handbrake, the amount of comments I got moaning about talking about hill starting using a handbrake was hilarious. So, if you're one of those people that doesn't have a handbrake, you don't like handbrakes, or you think they should all be put in the bin in hell somewhere, then this is the video for you. I'm assuming that if you know how to hill start using a handbrake, then you know the basics. Yeah, you know that the car should obviously be in gear, you're bringing the clutch up just below the biting point, and then adding a little bit of revs, and as the car engages on the biting point, handbrake off and you move off. Obviously, tips like keeping the clutch at the biting point, my favourite one, keeping your heel on the floor, are all standard. If you all don't know what I mean, if you're struggling with your hill starts or clutch control in general, keeping your heel on the floor mounted, if possible. I know it's tricky for some. And as you get to the biting point, you're using your heel as a control method. You're using it to keep the clutch at the biting point, and it feels so much more in control because you've got that point of resistance. You can use it as a pivot rather than using your whole leg to release the clutch. So you have two main options, and both of them are fairly similar. They both require you to be on the brake, car in gear, and you can either have the clutch all the way down, and this will take a little bit of getting used to. You'll have to know where the biting point is very roughly, but you can start bringing the clutch up to the biting point as you release the brake and you're getting on the throttle all at the same time. And that's what ends up being the most common option, I'd say, in my books. It's one of those things that, again, might seem a little bit daunting at first, and especially if you're using a different car. But again, if that's your problem, you can bring the clutch up just to below the biting point, even to where you feel it bite and the clutch starts to make the revs dip. You can have it there, off the brake, and then you've still got a little bit of resistance, and as you're getting on the throttle, you're adding a little bit more power and the car can move off that way. That tends to be a little bit more reassuring, especially when you're learning as well. Your car's not going to roll back nearly as far when you're doing things like this, as it's already got a little bit of resistance. I will say in lower powered petrol cars, so small petrol engines and smaller diesel engines, diesels will be a lot easier to do this with. But especially small petrols, they will tend to stall a little bit easier, and you will need to give it more revs. So make sure you're used to having a little bit of a higher RPM whilst you're doing this, and it will make it a way easier process for you. Super simple advice as well is, if you're talking about how can I pull away faster when I'm moving up a hill, I need to get away quicker, then it's just a case of how would you do it on a flat piece of land. You're going to use more revs and you're going to move the clutch away faster. The faster you move the clutch, probably the more revs you're going to have, but at that point, you know, you can really start moving if you want. Keep in mind, more revs and being harsher with the clutch is going to cause more wear on it, especially on a hill as well. So in case you're still a little bit uncertain on what's going on here, you're going from the brake and the clutch in to the brake coming off, and the car is going to naturally want to roll backwards. So if your clutch is coming up and it's at the biting point, you know, maybe it's already there, you're already holding it just at the biting point. Not so much that the car's stalling, but it's just biting at the revs. You can feel it pulling it down a bit. Or you bring the clutch up in time. What you're doing is you're taking over the job of the brake and you're letting the engine hold the car still with the clutch slipping slightly. So you don't want to do this for too long, and you want to make this as quick and smooth a process as possible. You know, not crazy high revs, but enough so the car doesn't feel like it's shuddering, or not, you know, it's lugging basically. It's not high enough revs that the engine's happy to sit there. So each car's going to be slightly different as well. Some cars will need more revs, like I mentioned in the petrol cars, generally the smaller engine ones. Some diesels will be very happy to sit almost with no revs at all, you know, holding on the clutch on a hill, and you'll just have to find out. If you're with an instructor, ask him what his car's like, his or her car's like. You'll feel it as well. And if you stall it a couple times, don't worry, remember just to get on the brake, use the handbrake if you need to, make sure that brake's covered, and you restart the car. Start again, don't panic, don't worry about people honking behind you, they can wait. thank you for watching the video today, everyone. A fairly simple one with a few tips in there that I hope helped you out. Remember, it doesn't matter either way if you use a handbrake or not. On the UK driving test, I would use a handbrake for the hill starts. That is something I will say. But once you get out there on the main road with your own car by yourself, and you're confident in your car and your ability, then yeah, absolutely. Doesn't matter if you use a handbrake or not, it's absolutely fine either way. Handbrake use won't cause any damage to your car, apart from maybe stretching the handbrake cable a little bit over time, which again is not a big problem. It can be tightened up, that's what it's for. And if you are worried about rolling back, I probably would go for the handbrake. If you're worried about rolling back and you don't have a handbrake, then cover the brake, bring the clutch up just to the biting point, so that when you come off the brake, you've got far less chance of the car rolling back at all. It won't even be noticeable to most people behind you. Thank you guys, have an amazing day, and I will see you soon. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel and drop a like for more videos like this. I will see you soon. Have a great day.